Hello, my name is Dragan Achimovic. I'm a Masters of Architecture student at Lawrence Tech University, and this is my final presentation and a summary of the work completed in the Research Methods class with Professor Anirban Adya. What you see here are 6 posters grouped in twos, and the first pair are all about discourses, or the process of understanding and reasoning. The second pair are about method, and the third pair are about purpose. Each pair refers to the same precedent study, in my case Eldorado Architects in Kansas City, Missouri, and their design plus make studio concept. The other half of each pair is my own thesis or project narrative based on this precedent. I would like to begin by talking about what I believe is the source of great art and architecture, and in my mind a lot of it comes from the heart, deep exploration of one's thoughts and feelings, and many years of experience. In architecture, we take those thoughts and concepts, turn them into built, usable forms that serve a specific purpose for its users and the city. Eldorado's website refers to this process of taking abstract ideas to build form, and their approach is to incorporate students, not just in the design process, but also in the construction and the manufacturing process. So you can see that in a few of the images where students are actually working. What this thesis is all about and what it questions is what is the best way to teach people or students how to become architects through rigorous, demanding, and sometimes impossible tasks of taking a design concept and turning it into a beautiful and functional, durable form. In other words, how do you train your architect? To me, the larger discourse at hand here is how do we actually learn, and more specifically, how do we best teach students to become excellent architects? How do we best prepare the students for the challenges of the most restrictive, if not most complicated of art forms, which is architecture? In my mind, in everyday architecture, there is a massive disconnect from what an architect does and how buildings are actually assembled. I currently design renovations for new homes through my small business in Toronto, and in addition to designing, I've also renovated and built homes. To me, building offers a new way to express one's thoughts and feelings, and is a great way to get intimately close with the materials and the processes. My point of view is that the best way to learn is through practical and meaningful professional experience. However interesting and beneficial Eldorado's approach is, to me though, it is only a portion of what a student should be exposed to while training to become architects. As mentioned, architecture is incredibly complicated, requires great amounts of knowledge about many different topics such as aesthetics, science, political, financial, and construction topics. As such, combination of educational and practical experience must be part of every student's educational experience. So although Eldorado states that we learn from the things that happen to us, such as the students building the actual projects, as you can see here, there are also other ways of learning, and the two most important are observational learning as well as associative learning. So observational learning focuses on learning by watching others engage in different behaviors. Associative learning, on the other hand, is learning by establishing connections between events. So for example, lightning happens after thunder. In practical training terms, though, both of these methods can be used for someone to learn a concept. And in that respect, Eldorado is an incredible experience for young architects because they are basically being taught in both ways. However, one of the things that I found that was not emphasized enough is the development of the critical thinking, the ability to question the question, as Krugman states in one of his texts. Does one have to get dirty to become a designer? Maybe not, but it certainly helps. My assumption is, when watching these students work through this, is that they've learned a whole lot of material that would never have been taught in a regular architectural course. Going back to poster 1A, Eldorado's particular project is an outdoor station. It's won a lot of awards. Their history has always been based on make, build kind of a concept. And the goal of the Design Make Studio is to expose students to the act of making and the process required to translate these ideas into built form. In a lot of ways, this feels like reverting back to the origin of an architect as a master builder. However, again, one of the critiques of this kind of approach is that today's architect is much more than just a craftsman. We get involved in a variety of topics from social, environmental, and urban, and I find that is something that is not discussed enough in this Eldorado approach. Poster number 2 in the middle here, these two posters focus on method, and methodology is implied in my posters as 4 different steps, as you can see in the center, from planning, doing, monitoring, and learning. At this stage, my thesis became a concept course that I could introduce at Sheridan College, and you see the building there, at Sheridan College in Mississauga, Ontario, and the course would be part of the architectural technology training where I teach part-time. In addition, we would also add a tech shop, which would be like the one that is in Detroit, a space, a shop that can be utilized not just by the students but also by the community itself. The course would be similar to Eldorado, where the students would spend time actually building, but it would be subdivided into 2 semesters. In the first semester, we would focus on planning and design. We would require requirements, clients, site, budget. In the second part, we would actually build some models. In the first term, it would be smaller scale models. In the second term, they would be large and full scale. Monitoring would be done of the students' progress would be done by the instructors as well as the trades, professional trades, and then learning would involve all aspects where they would learn, and not only during the rigorous design process but also from practical education, and they would be exposed to social responsibility. Similarly, Eldorado's poster, the 2A side, also focuses on the fact that the students actually built something for the YMCA, so there is that social aspect as well there. Finally, if we focus on posters 3A and 3B, returning to them, and these posters are all about purpose. I've added an additional level of complexity in my case, and that level of complexity has to do with the social issues. So I've given a couple examples here, anything from dealing with the homeless or potentially building something for people like single mothers through Habitat for Humanity and so on. I think that this would be a very important lesson to teach the future leaders of their communities to understand that they're not only designing in a vacuum, but that what they do and what they design will affect many people, from users and the people in that community. I've shown a couple options, such as homeless, unfortunately abundant in the downtown Toronto area. Sometimes they tend to refuse staying in shelters. So potentially the students could design a type of a portable home that could at least help these people in a short period of time. The other benefit of adding a social aspect, that there might be corporations that would actually help us and maybe fund part of this, so the students could get some of that funding and help them with the actual material costs and so on. So as you can tell, in part 3B here on this poster here, the students would actually focus on 3 contexts, one of them being the in-class sessions, trying to understand the community groups, the potential clients, the site. The students would actually be working in a very urban environment. They would be asked to partake in meetings, take notes. They would go through a rigorous design, a practical education, and be also socially responsible, environmentally responsible. And finally, the students would be asked to build the full mock-up of these models. So in my mind, my thesis would basically, what I'm trying to prove here is what would be the best way to train our future architects and designers. Being a professor myself, I believe that this sort of approach would be all-encompassing, and it would cover all aspects of design. It would introduce the students to all of the things that architects are responsible and all of the things that architects have to think about when designing. And that completes my presentation. Thank you very much.